welcome to this evening's Mason Cable News broadcast. I'm Aaron Wilson.
And I'm Leandra Jones.
Well, Leandra, seeing as though this is going to be the biggest thing in Mason history, well, it's a takeover, of course.
Takeover?
Yep, it's a takeover indeed. We're going to be doing a takeover.
Oh, well tell me about this takeover, because I do not know.
Well, I guess you can know along with the rest of the audience.
Okay.
So, for those of you at home, if you guys may or may not know, this Friday is MCN Takeover. That's right, Mason Cable Network is taking over. We're going to flood your timelines and your news feeds with nothing but Mason Cable Network. Now, the takeover will be here at 12 p.m., right here on Channel 231. Here is your MCN Takeover lineup. So at 12 p.m., we have the start of a Press Box Marathon, and at 1:30, a premiere of a brand new Press Box episode. At 2 p.m., you will see a brand new MCN segment. At 3, you'll see an And the Kitchen Sink Marathon with a brand new episode following at 3:30. Starting at 4, there will be a From the Cinema Marathon with a brand new show added to the end. And finally, during prime time, MCN's brand new Mason Sports Insider will have its first marathon ending with a brand new show at 7:30. At 8 p.m., we will screen the blockbuster movie Night of the Living Dead. And at 10 p.m., Sherlock Holmes and The Secret Weapon. For more information on MCN Takeover, follow us at Mason Cable Network on Twitter and Instagram.
Well, iWeek is in full swing. I'm excited. If you are not aware, this is George Mason's International Week. All week long, you can enjoy different cultural events, food, especially the food, all types of dances, festivals, and so much more. And of course, the biggest buzz on campus right now is the iWeek Dance Competition that will take place this Thursday at 7 p.m. in the Center for the Arts, also known as CFA. Be sure to pick up your tickets at the CFA ticket box. Be sure to pick up your tickets at the CFA ticket box so that you can attend this wonderful event. Aaron, are you going to the show?
I may. I'll see what happens. I have to see what my schedule is going to look like for the rest of the weekend for next week.
Thursdays can be kind of busy for people. They've got 7:20 classes, but if you don't, make sure to come out. It's going to
As
be
a matter
great.
of fact, I don't have class on Thursday.
Hey,
so
true. You should definitely go.
We'll see what happens. But on Thursday, April 9th, Apple released their heavily awaited iOS 8.3 update, which finally allowed for the use of racially diverse emojis. All of your favorite and popular emoji human figures are still there, but if you hold them down, a selection of skin tones will pop up, allowing for African American emojis, for example. Now, many people were elated that Apple finally decided to include people of all colors in their emojis, and it was shown all throughout Twitter. Now, it was the #1 trending topic on Twitter on Thursday, and it's still being talked about.
Wow, that's exciting. But on a less exciting note, a 73-year-old Oklahoma Reserve deputy who fatally shot a suspect that the Tulsa County Sheriff's Department called, quote, inadvertent, unquote, will be charged with second-degree manslaughter. Reserve Deputy Robert Bates shot and killed Eric Harris on April 2nd after the deputy mistook his handgun for a stun gun, officials said. Quote, Mr. Bates is charged with second-degree manslaughter involving culpable negligence. Oklahoma law defines culpable negligence as the omission to do something which a reasonably careful person would do, or the lack of casual and usual ordinary care and caution in the performance of an act usually and ordinarily exercised by a person under similar circumstances and conditions. The Tulsa County District Attorney District Attorney Steve Kunzweiler said in a statement, Bates, who was an unpaid volunteer and worked on a violent crimes task force, had to make sure he was proficient in the use of a firearm and, quote, never intended in his 73 years of life to take a human life, Major Shannon Clark said. She also said, quote, no one intended for Mr. Harris to die that day, end quote. We will be back shortly after this commercial break.
is a labyrinth, ladies and gentlemen, a puzzle. And while the paths of the brain are plainly visible, its ways deceptively apparent, its destinations are unknown, its secrets still secrets. And, if we are honest, it is the lure of the labyrinth that draws us to our chosen field, to unlock those secrets. Others have been here before us and have left us signs, but we, as explorers of the mind, must devote our lives and energies to going further, to tread the unexplored corridors in the hope of finding, ultimately, the final solution. We have to see. We have to know.
Dr. Chenard, the new arrival is awake and appears very distressed.
My part in this is over. Tidy for me, will you? Kyle, come with me. Now, this case, Kyle, interesting but delicate. A very traumatized girl, a witness to multiple murder involving members of her own family. The police brought her here hours ago, but she was lost beyond reach. And now she's back. What tales, I wonder, will she bring?
Well, I believe Dr. Kennard's words are quite true with regards to the mind. Now, hello everyone, and welcome again to this week's edition of the Weekly Prescription. I'm Aaron M. Wilson here, and today we're going to be discussing some psychological disorders. As I always say, the mind is an amazing puzzle, quite interesting and very complex. But the many types of psychological disorders that the mind can be diagnosed with, I find to be even more and more interesting every time I learn more about it. So today we're going to look briefly at two distinctive psychological disorders. We have PTSD and bipolar disorder. But first, why don't we dive into bipolar disorder? Now, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, bipolar disorder affects 5.7 million Americans approximately. Now, this is adult Americans, or 2.6% of the US population ages 18 and older every year. Bipolar disorder, or BP, is a mood disorder that makes a person go from feeling overly excited to the point of mania to feeling helpless and depressed. Now, you know how we have our good and bad moments throughout the day, right? Well, this is quite different, as I'm sure you can imagine so. Now, this disorder can inhibit energy levels, the ability to perform daily tasks, along with many other things. Also, these symptoms can lead to damaged relationships, poor job or school performance, and even suicide. But not to fear, it can be treated. Now, it's not really known for sure what causes bipolar disorder, and many scientists can agree that this is exactly the case. There are any risk factors that are associated with this disorder, however. Now, some of the main symptoms of BP are behavioral and mood changes, but for more information on it, see this chart. Now, in terms of treatment options that there are available, there are quite a few to address the issue or the disorder of BP. Now, some of which will consist of medications like antidepressants, mood stabilizers, vaporic acid, which can lead to higher levels of testosterone in women. Side note, testosterone is found predominantly in males. Back to the list, antipsychotics and psychotherapy. But there are other treatment options as well, such as electroconvulsive therapy or ECT, sleep medications, and even herbal supplements. But for more information on bipolar disorder, be sure to visit this website, www.nimh.nih.gov. Now, we're going to move on to PTSD. If you remember at the beginning of this segment, I showed you guys a video from Clive Barker's 1988 movie, Hellbound Hellraiser 2. And if you listen closely to Dr. Kennard's description of the girl, you will hear him discuss how traumatized she was after witnessing multiple murders. Now, mind you, these murders took place in her family. You could say that she had PTSD, but honestly, we don't know for sure because it's a movie. Now let's go back to reality here. PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, is defined by the Mayo Clinic as a mental health condition that can be triggered by a terrifying event, either by experiencing it or witnessing it. PTSD can be experienced by anybody based on any traumatic event. Symptoms can range from nightmares, flashbacks, which is reliving the event, severe anxiety, and even in some cases, uncontrollable thoughts about the event that took place. Typically, after a tragic or traumatic event, what would happen is it would take us a while to cope and adjust to what happened. Now, you would normally adjust with time and after developing good coping mechanisms to help you carry on. However, if these symptoms persist over time and it interferes with a person's ability to function, a person may in fact have PTSD. Now, if these symptoms do persist, my advice alongside the advice of actual licensed medical professionals here is to seek medical attention. I cannot stress enough, it is important not to stay silent. If you have, or if you know somebody who has suicidal thoughts, talk to someone, talk to a friend, a loved one, anybody. Or you can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. This number here, 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255 to reach a trained counselor. If you are a veteran, use that same number and press 1 to reach the Veteran Crisis Line. If you need to get emergency help, call 911 or your local emergency telephone number for immediate assistance. For more information on PTSD, be sure to visit any of the websites listed below.
Welcome back to Mason Cable News right here on channel 231. I'm Leandra Jones.
And I'm Aaron M. Wilson.
So before the break, Aaron, you were talking about Apple's iOS 8.3 update with all of the newly shaded emojis. How are you feeling about those?
I mean, well, I think it's interesting. Like everything, of course, it can stir up some sort of controversy in some way, shape, or form. Somebody will find a way to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
I mean, I really don't have a solid opinion on it right now. I mean, I'll probably have to read up a little bit more about it because this came out, last week you said?
Oh, yes. And what's interesting is when you think about inclusivity and them trying to be inclusive to certain demographics, there will always be someone left out. So as much as I appreciate the emojis and I love them, I've been using them all week, I think that it's also important for us to recognize that while our shade may be on there, someone else's might not. Well, finals time is quickly approaching here at Mason and all over the state of Virginia, and studies show that suicide rates rise during that time. So to help you, we are giving 5 ways to stay calm during finals week. As a senior, I promise you this is meaningful advice. Starting with number 5, pace yourself. Take your time while you study, space out each class, and include breaks in between those classes so that you don't get overwhelmed.
Now, number 4 is make an inspiring playlist. If you're one that listens to music and study, this will get you through the chapter with ease. Now, if you can't listen to music and study, listen to it during your downtime to pump you up and boost your energy levels.
Number 3, take exciting breaks. This is your time to get out of study mode. It's good for your mental health to get out of your room and do something active. It also gives your eyes and brain a break from the stress of trying to pack everything into your brain. That includes social media, TV. You might want to take a break from the screens for a while.
I agree. Now, number 2 on the list is if you feel yourself getting stressed out, go talk to someone. Venting to either a friend or a parent, a roommate, or even an RA can really go a long way.
And finally, number 1 is
get some sleep.
Sleep is very important during finals week. It is a known fact that if you do not sleep before your final exam, you will not do your best because you're tired, you're worn out, gassed out, you don't have any more energy left. If you try all of these tips and you are still having trouble during finals week, make sure to go to Counseling and Psychological Services located in Sub 1 here on the Fairfax campus. They give you lots of resources to help you.
Now, on another note, Corinne Carter is a George Mason University graduate from Richmond, Virginia. While at George Mason, she founded the popular women's empowerment organization called Chase Dreams Not Boys. Now, the purpose of Chase Dreams Not Boys is to, quote, broaden the horizon of minority women by expanding the idea of what they perceive to be, quote unquote, possible, end quote. While George Mason houses the Alpha chapter, the organization has been chartered at Old Dominion University, but it will expand its doors even wider in the fall. This past Saturday on April 11th, Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, held an interest meeting for those interested in chartering the chapter at VCU. Chase Dreams Not Boys at VCU is expected to get to the fall. Next fall, that is, yeah.
Well, last Thursday, the 21-year-old Boston Marathon bomber Yohar Tsarnaev was found guilty on all charges he faced, including the murders of 3 people and the injuries of countless others. Tsarnaev apparently showed no emotions while the court clerk read the verdict on all 30 counts he faced. The jurors spent a total of 11 hours deliberating on the decision to find Tsarnaev guilty. That same jury will now consider whether the Boston bomber should face the death penalty. Stay tuned, because right after this, we will have our sports report with Sydney Peterson.
Thinking of studying abroad? Consider spending a semester at Mason's new campus in Korea. Enjoy a unique experience where you will be taught by main campus faculty and will learn about one of the most important regions in the world. Students pay the same tuition as they do on main campus, and housing costs significantly less. Join the Office of Global Strategy each Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. in the Johnson Center Gold Room for an information session, or visit masonglobal.gmu.edu to learn more.
Hey Mason Nation, I am Sydney Peterson, and this is your MCN News Sports Update. The men's volleyball team swept the series against Grand Canyon last week, beating the Antelopes 3-1 on Thursday and 3-0 on Saturday. Jack Wilson was on fire the whole weekend, recording 17 kills Thursday and following it up with 14 more on Saturday. The team improved to 11-11 on the season. Over the weekend, Mason will play matches at Harvard and at Cedar Park for a chance to move up in the This weekend, the baseball team took over the field in Richmond as they won 2 out of 3 games. They won their first game 6-1 and lost their second game 9-1. However, they ended their weekend strong, winning their last game on Sunday with a final score of 7-6. Tuesday, the team was supposed to play at Georgetown, but due to weather, the game has been postponed. As of now, no new date has been announced. Wednesday, the team will play against Towson here in Fairfax at 3 p.m. The team will also be staying home for the weekend as they take on Canisius Friday through Sunday. The team will be playing at 3 o'clock on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday. The lacrosse team squashed the Richmond Spiders on Saturday by a score of 8-5. After being tied at 5 in the second half, Mason pulled away thanks to goals from Alexa McGovern and Jacqueline Spalding. Kristen Russell added one last goal for insurance with just less than 2 minutes left. The Patriots are now 8-5 for the season, and their next game is at home against St. Bonaventure on Friday at 4. Senior Day ended on a good note for the men's tennis team as they swept Mount St. Mary's by a score of 7-0. Joe Hill, one of Mason's 2 seniors, swept his seniors opponent 6-0, 6-0. Nick Barker, the other senior, scored a 6-3, 6-3 straight set victory, clinched the overall match for Mason. George Mason's final 2 matches of the regular season are this weekend at George Washington and at home against through the 19th at Boar's Head Sports Club in Charlottesville, Virginia. Well, that's all I have for you today, Mason. Next up, we will have Regina Jerome with your infotainment news.
Hey there, Mason, and welcome to On the Couch with Gina Jerome, your infotainment of all things going on in the DMV as well as in the George Mason University area. Well, the Mason Dance Company spring performance titled New Dances is coming up very, very soon. Actually, it's this weekend. You know, I think it's really amazing that George Mason just uses these performances to just highlight their best dancers and the exceptional, just raw talent that is within them that could definitely just become something greater. You know, if someone could just watch one of these performances, it could just highlight something amazing that's going on, and then next thing you know, they're picked up and they're just traveling all over the world, and it could just be the start of an amazing life ahead of them. Performances are April 16th through April 18th at 8 p.m. at Harris Theater. Like I said before, tickets are $15 for adults and they are $10 for students and senior citizens. But free student tickets will begin to be available with a valid Mason ID. And you know it's so important, you need your Mason ID on you at all times. And if you're not going to the dance performance, you can see a performance by the Russian Ballet. On April 18, 2015 at 8 p.m., the Center for the Arts Music Hall will be hosting a ballet by the Russian National Ballet. Make sure not to miss one of the most enchanting and delightful storybooks ballet because they are doing my favorite, Cinderella. With Russia's finest dancers, Prokofiev's amazing music, their beautiful costumes, and just great scenery, and don't forget those comical stepsisters, this performance is just going to be a treat for audiences of all ages, you know. The classic fairy tale just tells of this virtuous and mistreated servant girl who is just magically transformed by her fairy godmother, who just allows her to attend this amazing ball. I mean, who doesn't think? I think it's great. You know, she just captures the heart of the handsome prince, but then dashes off at the stroke of midnight. I bet you know that part. And she leaves only her glass slipper behind. The Russian National Ballet Theater is committed to upholding just a grand national tradition of Russian ballet, and at the same time it just offers opportunities for emerging young artists to just showcase their talent. And many say it's a cut above many of its rivals, and I can't wait to watch it. I bet you are as well. Well, one thing that is definitely taking the world by storm, dare I say, is twerking. Twerking, once people might have said is a Western tradition, now has taken over the world. Officials in the provincial city of Orenburg near the Kazakh border are conducting two separate criminal investigations over a twerking video, which was covered heavily in Russian media and gathered over 4 million views after it was posted on Monday, April 13th. Not that long ago. The local provincial government ordered that the dance studio that these young girls attended to be closed down until the investigations were actually over. And the video just begins with someone dressed as Winnie Puke, and I found out he's the beloved Soviet adaptation of our favorite and loving Winnie the Pooh, who just goes on a search for honey. But then suddenly the music from the classic cartoon just changes into this build-up dance music as these girls dressed as bees just come dancing with Winnie the Pooh. Pavel Astakov, from Russia's Children's Rights, released a statement calling the dance vulgar and offensive. Now, some of the more than 22,000 people who wrote angry comments under the video were upset by the girls' orange and black striped uniforms, which many people have pointed out resemble the colors of the St. George's ribbons that symbolize Russia's victory in World War II. And other people are just worried that Russia's youth are just corrupted and perverted by sexual temptation and stuff in the West. But you know what I think? I think definitely has to do with a person's how they were raised. And in case you're wondering, let's think about this. The Russian word for twerking is, I can't even say twerking. Like, it's Tverking. I really hope someone helps me out. Maybe you can send a video to Mason Cable News and let me know how it's pronounced, because I love to learn a new thing every single day. The boy behind the Success Kid meme is actually now 8 years old, and his family is trying to find ways to use his internet fame to just help raise money for his dad's surgery and treatment and find a live donor because he has been diagnosed with some form of kidney failure. Well, he actually was suffering through kidney failure even before the kid who was in the beautiful meme was born. So you know, it must be really sad for the family. This picture of a tiny tot with his fist just clenched in victory and expression of just says, hell yes, is one of the internet's longest lasting memes. Can you believe it? And many people call it Success Kid. His dad, Justin Griner, needs a kidney transplant, and their family is trying to crowdfund his treatment and just find a live donor as soon as possible. At first, Justin's wife Lainey did not want to mention her now internet famous son during the fundraising because she just wanted the focus to be on her husband, which I can definitely understand. And then she thought what a positive boost it could be to just bring the fundraising efforts towards their son, because no, this is the father of the baby who just made so many people laugh and smile and giggle. And you know what? I think that's great, and I know for a fact that whenever I look at that beautiful little boy, I just start cracking up. You know. Famous pop star Rihanna, also known as Bad Girl Riri, is facing some serious allegations with plagiarism as her popular hit B******, H, Better Have My Money climbs the music charts. And I love blasting that sometimes, you know. I bet you do too. Houston singer and songwriter Jess Brittany released her mixtape Something Different a little over 8 months ago, which included a track entitled similar to Rihanna's Better Have My Money. The song, which went unknown up until recently, but it seems to share some similarities with Riri's hit, especially the chorus. Perhaps this coincidence is just due to the phrase's popularity and just uses over the years, and maybe just that both artists are just currently having trouble with just people not having their own money, just make their own music in a way. Either way, the near identical hooks had just led to some people to question Rihanna and, dare I say it, her character. Well, as most of you know, the circus is back at Mason once again, and this has caused mixed emotions for many people in the George Mason community. Some people look at the circus as a place to just get away from the real world and just have a good time with your friends and family and just do something you've never done in a while. However, some students do think differently. There is a Facebook group some of you may have heard called Boycott the Circus, and this is a page that many George Mason students have made in order to show another outlook on the circus. This page includes as many things, including groups' plans as to when and how they will protest, and also there are links as to show how they believe that these animals are being mistreated, because you obviously need something to support what you're saying. It also has links as to how someone can donate money to go towards the circus animals and help them. Now, you guys know how Justin Bieber is always a topic of discussion. A couple weeks ago was his roast, and now it's Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande. Justin Bieber got extra close to our girl Ariana, grabbing the singer's waist and hugging her from behind during their performance on Wednesday night, April 8th, at the Forum in Inglewood, California. But not long after footage of the internet just hit the web, a tweet from Ariana's boyfriend, Big Sean's Twitter account, threatening Justin Bieber for touching his girl, actually surfaced. And he says, "This kid is about to learn not to touch my girl like that. Believe that." The tweet said, but now Sean's reps are saying that the tweet was just bogus and that Sean has no problem with the Biebs whatsoever and that everything is okay. But another tweet of Sean's, "So many times in my life I wish I could have been at two places at once," also sounded like it was about Justin Bieber, but again, we're told that it has nothing to do with him. And, you know, Sean just misses his friends and family while he's on the road, which I can definitely understand. Well, I guess Justin Bieber lucked out on that one. But who do you think would win in a showdown between the two? Tweet your responses at Mason Cable News with the hashtag #BelieveThatMason. Well, that's all the infotainment I have for you right now. This is Gina Jerome with you on the couch.
You're listening live to Improv for Mason here on WGMU Radio, heard WGMUradio.com.
You know, it wasn't my idea.
Today's show with our special guest interview transition for this team in the new conference.
Welcome to a special
It's been
edition of the
a
First
great
Pick.
transition for me personally. I love Mason.
The very talented David Keckner.
I'm great. How are you doing?
Reed, Jonah, it was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thanks, dude.
I'm Ben Simpson. On the phone today, we have Drew McGarry, successful author, writer. You're listening to WGMU Radio on WGMUradio.com.
Well, with the new generation coming up, it seems as though social media has played a big role in how they view themselves, as well as how they live their day-to-day lives. It is shown to have positive and negative effects on today's generation and generations to come. What do you guys think about how social media affects the way people view themselves?
I definitely think social media sometimes is used a little too much within our society. It has too big of a part for the fact that it's not about just posting it to let someone know, hey, I did this, or to let all your friends know. It's more about, oh, how many likes can I get on this?
Which is a big thing. It's
Right.
all about satisfaction based off of what other people think about you. So
I have to agree with Sydney as well. We had talked about something called, this is on another note, but it has something something exactly to do with this. We've talked about this thing called social capital in my government class. We also covered it in AP government back in high school. But the point is, like, social media, I believe, has been like the main catalyst as to why social capital has been decreasing. And basically, the social capital is like that thing that like involves civic engagement and like reading newspapers. All that stuff has been in decline. And we were talking about Robert Putnam in his 1995 study of both America and Italy, and he found that Italy is more civically active. They have a higher amount of social capital than we do in America, which I find to be very, very disappointing.
It is, and what's interesting is I had a professor recently who's teaching online journalism tell our class that social media is the new currency. So there are people who have become famous or have made it up there in the world based off of what was presented on YouTube. That's how everything pretty much started with YouTube famers. I know Justin Bieber started on YouTube, and a lot of other stars did as well. So you start with the YouTube craze, and now you've got people who are Insta famous, which is a new term for people who have thousands of likes on their Instagram photos based off of whatever hashtags they use to get whatever attention they want. And so social media really is a new currency. You can become much bigger than the average citizen based off of the right filter, the right moment that you can capture.
Yeah, that I think is a really big thing.
I think it's interesting also to think about how it's benefited though. What are some benefits of social media as of lately?
Benefits?
It's a news source. It's a news source. You know, you can find out. I know personally, when I find out big events that are going on, it's usually through Twitter and Facebook. I think that social media has benefits, but it's important for the media users to take advantage of the benefits, not use them for the wrong reason, just to earn Insta famous or making money.
Oh, I mean,
I agree with you. I do.
That I can agree with you on, but there are always that like 1% or 2% of people that feel as though they need to exploit the internet for their own personal goals, whether they are good or bad.
The fact that we have a whole television show based off of that, Catfish, the fact that that is a thing.
Reality television, oh goodness
yes,
gracious.
We have television shows based off of how social media has either ruined people's lives or changed the way they perceive one another.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Well, you can join our conversation on Twitter at Mason Cable News and tell us what you think about the social media age. Are we in a social media age? Is it a positive or negative thing? Let us know.
Well, while you are on Twitter, be sure to follow us at Mason Cable News and like us on Facebook. And also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Mason Cable Network. And also do not forget about Friday from 12 to 2, or from 12 to 12 a.m., the Mason Takeover, Channel 231. So for Mason Cable News, I'm Aaron Wilson.
I'm Leandra Jones.
And I'm Sydney Peterson.
Until
next time, guys.
Mason.
Bye.